Well, greetings, friends, and welcome to Tolkien Tuesday. I'm Justin Ariel Bailey. So before there was Lord of the Rings, there was the Silmarillion, or at least the work that would become the Silmarillion. Tolkien began working on it very early, and he worked on it throughout his life, writing it and rewriting it, trying to shrink it down to a form that might be palatable to the public. His publisher was leery of it, and it would only be finished, edited, and published after his death by his son Christopher Tolkien. Now, if the Lord of the Rings is the New Testament of Tolkien's world, the Silmarillion is the Old Testament. It's concerned with history and it's painstaking about names, and many readers might enjoy the creation story, the Ainu Lindale, but then quickly get bogged down in what follows. It's not uncommon for a reader to abandon the Silmarillion within the first 50 pages. On my first reading, I trudged through it with disappointment, not fully understanding why I wasn't being moved by it in the same way that the Lord of the Rings had moved me. On top of this, the Silmarillion is unmistakably tragic. It's been described as a long and slow defeat. For all the wisdom and valor of his heroes, all of their efforts seem doomed. The most beautiful elven realms, Doriath and Gondolin, both are destroyed. So the triumph of the Valar, which is Tolkien's powers, these angelic-like beings who co-create and govern the world, they triumph over evil Morgoth, who is sort of this Lucifer figure, and this leads to the golden age of the Númenóreans. These are great human kings who lived for hundreds of years. Aragorn is a descendant of the Númenóreans. But eventually the Númenóreans rebel against the powers and they worship Morgoth. And Numenor is buried beneath the sea. Think of Atlantis. The work of ages is obliterated in moments. And as we read through the story, one kingdom rises and there's goodness and beauty, and it's corrupted and it falls. Another kingdom rises and it's corrupted and it falls. Rinse and repeat. Tolkien's story is one of valiant despair, so much so that Tolkien himself characterized the Silmarillion as passing from the high and beautiful down into darkness and ruin. Now, fast forward to the conclusion of Lord of the Rings. In his letters, Tolkien revealed that he was discouraged to continue writing because he knew that Aragorn's line would eventually be diminished and the story would end in defeat. Well, that stinks. So what was the whole War of the Ring for? Now, it's important to remember that Tolkien was inspired in part by Norse mythology. And in the Norse legends, there was this idea of Ragnarok, that at the end of the world, all of the heroes and monsters would be resurrected to fight this epic, climactic battle, and the heroes would lose. And they knew this. And yet heroism for the Norse meant striving in the face of certain defeat, building their lives, as philosopher Bertrand Russell put it, on a foundation of unyielding despair. Now that doesn't sound like a very firm foundation to me, but perhaps it's the best that we can do. Now, is Tolkien's legendarium, like the Norse legends, driven more by despair than by hope? If all things seem to come to ruin, what is the place of hope in Middle Earth? And if his mythology is meant to shed light on the primary world, on our world, then what is the place of hope on planet Earth? What hope do we have that all we do will not come to ruin? Hope amidst doom, despair, and death. This is the theme that we will be exploring on our Tolkien Tuesdays. See you next time.